On a fog-covered hill in Hokkaido, people whisper about a girl who only walks backward. A spirit who never faces forward, forever pulled toward the darkness behind her. When Min moves into the small house beneath the hill, he doesn't know that one brief moment of eye contact will open the door to a nightmare he can never turn away from. Chapter 1: The Hill Without Shadows. In the northern countryside of Hokkaido, there was a small hill the locals called the Hill of Spirits. By day, it looked ordinary, almost meaningless, crooked pine trees and patches of dull gray soil. But at dusk, when the sea mist rolled in and blanketed the land in a thick, suffocating white layer, the hill began to change. People said that when the fog became heavy enough, you could hear footsteps circling around you, steady, deliberate, and disturbingly close. The terrifying part wasn't the sound itself. It was the feeling that the footsteps were coming from right behind you, even when you were completely alone. Children in the village were strictly forbidden from approaching the hill. Adults avoided speaking about it after sunset. Anyone forced to pass by would bow their head, clutch a lucky charm tightly, and whisper a quick prayer. Everyone feared the hill, but no one dared to explain the truth. During the coldest winter nights, when the air seemed sharp enough to cut skin, some villagers claimed to hear slow, dragging footsteps on the slope. Others swore they once saw a faint, pale figure standing near the top, motionless, swallowed by fog. And every single witness said the same thing. The figure always stood with her back turned. And when she moved, she only moved by walking backward. The villagers believed that if anyone ever locked eyes with her, if she ever realized someone was watching, she would walk backward toward them until she was standing right behind them. And the person would never turn around again. Chapter 2: The Warning in the Old Notebook. Min moved into the wooden house at the foot of the Hill of Spirits on a drizzling afternoon. The house was small, old, and carried a faint smell of moisture, but the rent was unbelievably cheap enough to make him suspicious. The landlady said only one thing before leaving: "If you hear strange noises at night, don't open the door." Min brushed it off as superstition from an elderly woman, though the way her eyes hardened when she said it was unsettling. While cleaning the attic room, Min opened the drawer of an old wooden desk. His hand touched something soft and dusty. He pulled it out. It was a cloth-covered notebook, yellowed by time, the fabric stained with dark smudges as if someone had gripped it too tightly. There was no name on the cover, only a long black streak, like the mark of a burnt fingertip. Min opened the first page. The handwriting was small, shaky, and filled with fear. "If you live near the hill, never look up when the sun is about to set." He flipped to the next page. "If you hear footsteps behind you, do not turn around. If you turn, you will see something you should never see." The next page. "There is a girl on that hill. She never walks forward. Not even once." The ink smudged in places, as though wet with rainwater or tears. Min flipped to the final complete page. It was filled entirely with the same sentence, written over and over in frantic strokes. "She walks backward. She walks backward. She walks backward." The last page of the notebook had been torn out violently, leaving jagged edges behind. At the torn corner was a reddish-brown stain. A dried fingerprint. A chill ran through Min's spine. He tried to convince himself it must be the prank of the previous tenant. But when he set the notebook down, his heart nearly stopped. Beside the notebook, on the dusty floorboard, was a single muddy footprint. Small, sharp, recent, and the footprint faced the wrong direction, as if someone had walked backward up to the desk, and then disappeared. Min froze in place. Outside, dusk dimmed the sky. Fog from the hill crept downward like a living thing. He whispered to himself, "Just my imagination." But deep down, he knew. He had touched something the previous tenant had been running from. Chapter 3: The First Footsteps. Min barely slept that first night in the house beneath the Hill of Spirits. The silence felt unnatural, too heavy, too deep. Even the ticking of the wall clock sounded like someone's heartbeat echoing through the dark. Around 2 a.m., the wind outside suddenly stopped. Not slowed down, but stopped completely, as if a giant hand had pressed the world into stillness. Min jolted upright at his desk. Then he heard it. Thud, thud, thud. Footsteps. Slow, deliberate, and right behind the house. He held his breath. These were not the cautious steps of an animal. They were heavy. The weight and rhythm of a human foot pressing into wet ground. But what made Min's skin crawl was the pattern. The first impact was strong. The next was lighter. The one after that, softer still. It was the sound of someone walking backward, heel hitting the ground first, dragging the toes behind. Min grabbed a flashlight and crept to the back door. Very slowly, he slid it open. A surge of cold air swept into the house. The backyard was drowned in fog. Every blade of grass trembled without any wind. Min scanned the area with his flashlight, moving carefully across the mist. There was nothing. No figure. No shadow. No intruder. But when he turned back toward the doorway, Min froze. A line of footprints had appeared on the wet ground behind him. Fresh, sharp, unmistakable. 5 footprints. Not many, but enough. And every single one of them faced the wrong direction. They pointed toward the house, as if someone had walked backward right up to where Min was standing just moments before. He crouched down, hand trembling, reaching to touch one of the prints. But just as his fingers hovered over the damp soil, a chilling sensation shot up his spine. The unmistakable feeling of someone exhaling against the back of his neck. A warning. A presence. Do not touch it. Min pulled his hand back instantly and slammed the door shut. He locked it twice. He returned to his desk, heart pounding. The lamp flickered 3 times. From the corner of the room, where the old notebook rested, came a faint sound. Rustle, rustle? Min whipped his head around. The notebook lay open, but not to the page he left it on. It was now open to the page filled with frantic black writing. The first night is when she comes closest. Outside the house, just beyond the thin wooden walls. Thud. A single backward step. A warning. Min stayed awake the rest of the night, curled in his chair, shaking. He knew one thing for certain. Whatever made those footsteps was not human. And it knew he had heard it. Chapter 4: The Woman by the Old Well. The next morning, Min woke with a heavy weight in his chest. He had slept barely an hour, and even that hour was filled with blurred dreams. Dreams of wet hair, white eyes, and the echo of backward footsteps haunting his sleep. He stepped into the backyard. The footprints from last night were gone. Not smudged, not washed away. Gone. As if they had never existed. But something else caught Min's eye. The old well. It sat behind a cluster of bushes, not far from the house. A place he hadn't noticed the previous day. The well was ancient, made of dull gray stones covered in moss. No lid. Just an open hole leading into darkness. The air around it felt oddly still. As Min stared at the well, he felt as though something inside it was staring back. A soft voice called from behind him. "You there?" Min spun around. An elderly woman with silver hair tied neatly behind her head stood at the entrance of the yard. Her wrinkled face was marked with worry, and her sharp eyes seemed too alert for her age. She asked quietly, "Did you hear anything last night?" Min hesitated. He didn't want to sound paranoid. But the woman's eyes held an understanding he couldn't ignore. "I heard footsteps," he admitted. The woman stiffened. Fear flickered across her face. She glanced at the well, then back at Min, lowering her voice. "You should not go behind the house at night. And stay away from that well." Min swallowed hard. What happened here? What's wrong with the well? The woman took a shaky step closer, voice trembling. 20 years ago, a young girl fell into that well and died. They found her body 3 days later. She paused, her eyes darkening. But her body wasn't in the shape of someone who simply fell. A cold wave swept through Min's spine. "What do you mean, not in the shape?" The woman raised a trembling hand, drawing a twisted shape in the air. Her head was bent backward. Her neck turned the wrong way. And her feet. They were turned around, facing behind her. Min's breath caught. The woman continued. People said she didn't fall. Something down there pulled her in. A gust of wind drifted across the well, carrying a faint metallic smell. The woman approached the rim of the well and leaned slightly forward. Min watched as a small clump of wet black hair loosened from the edge and dropped inside. She stepped back, voice lowered to a whisper. Sometimes, her hair appears there again, even after all these years. Min felt his throat tighten. The old woman rested a cold, bony hand on his shoulder. If you hear footsteps at night, don't open your door. And never let her know you see her. She turned to leave but stopped at the gate. Her voice, now trembling, drifted back. Because if she realizes you can see her, she will walk backward toward you. All the way. Until she is right behind you. Min stood frozen. The wind from the well brushed across his face. Cold, damp, and carrying the scent of something long buried. Chapter 5. The camera that recorded backwards. After meeting the old woman, Min couldn't focus on his studies. The well, the clump of hair, the footsteps. All of it churned inside his mind like a nightmare he couldn't wake from. So he decided to do something most people would avoid. He set up a night vision camera behind the house. Not because he wanted proof of the supernatural, but because he desperately needed reassurance that everything he saw and heard was just coincidence. Min positioned the camera facing the exact spot where the backward footprints had appeared. The cables rattled in the breeze, making sharp, unsettling sounds. Before heading inside, Min cast one last glance at the old well. The interior was a hollow pit of darkness, an open mouth of something ancient and hungry. He turned away quickly. That night, at 3 a.m., the house was unnervingly silent. Min lay awake on his bed, staring into the darkness. Then, his phone vibrated sharply. The camera had detected motion. Min's heart thudded against his ribs. He opened the app, the screen flickering before showing the backyard. At first, there was only fog. Then the fog shifted. A figure emerged from it. Min's breath caught. A girl in a long white dress stood behind the well. Her hair hung straight down, soaked, obscuring her face. Her arms dangled unnaturally at her sides. She stood completely still, back turned to the camera. Min zoomed in with trembling fingers. The fog around her twisted and curled toward her, as if the air itself was being swallowed into her hollow outline. 10 silent seconds passed. Then the girl moved. Not forward. Not sideways. She began to walk backward toward the camera. Thud. A backward step. Thud. Another. Each footstep was wrong. The heel striking the ground first. The toes dragging behind. She drew closer. And closer. Min wanted to shut the screen off. But he couldn't. He was frozen. The girl continued to back toward the camera until she was only a few meters away. Then, her head began to turn. Not her body. Not her shoulders. Her head twisted slowly, excruciatingly, rotating against the natural limits of bone. Crack, crack, crack. The sound made Min's stomach clench. Finally, her face came into view. Her eyes were milky white. Her mouth hung open, leaking thick, dark liquid that dripped onto the soil. She stared directly into the camera. Directly into Min's screen. The feed shook violently. The audio dissolved into static. And then, she vanished from the frame. The screen filled with black and white noise. Lines of interference rippling like something pressing against the lens from the other side. A half second before the camera shut off completely, Min saw one final image. Her face pressed right against the camera lens. Close enough that he could see the wet strands of hair clinging to her cheeks. Min dropped the phone. He couldn't breathe. He couldn't even move. Outside, in the darkness behind the house. Thud, thud, thud. Backward footsteps. Crawling closer until dawn. Chapter 6. The Forbidden Polaroid. After the night his camera recorded that horrifying scene, Min knew he couldn't keep the footage to himself. He needed an explanation, or at least confirmation that he wasn't losing his mind. So the next day, he took the memory card to the only photo shop in the small town. About 4 kilometers away. The shop was tucked between 2 old buildings, and the air smelled faintly of developing chemicals. The shop owner, a middle-aged man with graying hair and round glasses, greeted Min politely. He was known to be patient and skilled, someone who rarely reacted strongly to anything. But the moment he opened the footage, his entire demeanor changed. He froze. His hand tightened on the computer mouse until his knuckles widened. His eyes squinted, horrified. Min stepped closer but saw only a frozen frame of his foggy backyard. "Is something wrong?" Min asked quietly. The owner didn't answer at first. He clicked twice, then abruptly shut the video. He turned to Min with a pale face. "What exactly were you recording there?" Min hesitated. "I just set up a camera behind my house." The owner pushed the memory card back. "Quickly. Too quickly. You shouldn't record that place. Especially not at night." Then he opened a drawer and pulled out a single Polaroid print. Its edges yellowed and slightly burnt. This is the only image the system managed to save before it malfunctioned. He didn't slide it toward Min. He simply placed it on the counter and stepped back, as if he didn't want to touch it again. "Look at it." But only once. Min picked up the Polaroid, and his blood ran cold. It showed the backyard at night, washed in the faint blue glow of the night vision camera. But in the far left corner of the frame, a girl, barely visible but unmistakable. Her long black hair covered her face. Her white dress was torn and dripping. She was walking backward, step by step, toward the well. But that wasn't the worst part. Behind her, crawling across the dark ground, were hands. Dozens of them. Some small like the hands of children. Some long and skeletal. Some twisted. All pale. All reaching. Clawing. Following her. Min's fingers trembled so hard the photo nearly slipped from his hand. I never saw these," he whispered. The owner spoke softly, voice trembling. "You don't want to see any more." He glanced toward the shop window, as if fearing someone, or something, might be watching. Then he leaned in and whispered, "The spirits trapped on that hill hate being seen. Especially that girl." Min swallowed hard. "Do you know who she is?" The owner closed his eyes, as if remembering something terrible. She was the last person to die at that well. But she wasn't the only one. Then he handed Min the Polaroid. "Keep it or burn it. But don't leave it alone in your room." That night, when Min returned home, he checked his pocket. The Polaroid was gone. His heart dropped. But when he entered his room, it was lying neatly on his desk. And something was different. In the corner of the photo, a new mark had appeared. A small footprint, facing the wrong direction, as if someone had walked backward to place the photo there. Chapter 7: The Legend of the Girl Who Walked Backward. Min could not stop staring at the Polaroid on his desk. Even in daylight, the picture felt wrong. The pale girl, the crawling hands, the backward steps, and the tiny footprint that hadn't been there before. Something was watching him. He felt it. The next morning, determined to find answers, Min headed to the small village library. It was old, quiet, and smelled of dust and yellowing paper. The elderly librarian barely looked up before disappearing behind tall shelves. Min began searching through local records, old journals, village archives, anything that might explain the strange events. Hours passed. Nothing but folklore, rumors, and half-told warnings. Then he found it. A thin, fragile folder with a handwritten title. Investigation Diary, The Hill of Spirits Case. The moment he touched it, a cold shiver ran through his spine. He opened it carefully. The first page contained a name written in trembling ink. Aiko. Age 17. Daughter of a family of spiritual sealers. Min frowned. Spiritual sealers? He kept reading. The next paragraph chilled his blood. Her family possessed the ability to restrain wandering spirits and seal dangerous ones. They were the last generation of their bloodline. The diary continued. Aiko's father attempted to seal a powerful, vengeful spirit. But the ritual failed. The spirit attached itself to the old well. And to Aiko. Min's breath hitched. He flipped another page. Aiko changed soon after. She stopped speaking. Stopped eating. Stopped sleeping at night. Then a note written with shaking hands. She began walking backward everywhere. Inside the house. Across the yard. Even down the stone path leading to the well. Min felt something tighten inside his chest. The next page contained a faded photograph in black and white. The old well. And beside it, a blurry female figure with her back to the camera. Aiko. Min turned the page. The writing became more frantic. No matter how tightly her parents locked her room, they always found the door open in the morning. And backward footprints. All over the house. He flipped again. A chilling detail was scrawled in crimson ink. Villagers once saw Aiko standing on the hilltop, facing away from them. Her head turned around, but her feet stayed pointing backward. Min felt the air around him grow colder. The next entry was short, but devastating. Her parents attempted a second sealing ritual. It backfired. Another note was pinned beneath it, written in a different hand, shaky, terrified. Aiko disappeared one night. Her footprints led up the hill. All of them, backward. Min's fingers trembled as he turned the page. They found her in the well the next morning. Her body twisted. Neck turned the wrong way. Legs bent as though pulled backward. One line, written with a knife-like force, closed the case file. Her eyes were still open, as if she was staring at something behind her. Min shut his eyes for a moment, breathing unevenly. But the final horror came from the last page. It contained a single sentence, written in red ink, uneven and rushed. Anyone who sees her eyes will be dragged backward until they die. Min slammed the folder shut, heart thumping painfully. And then, he noticed something that hadn't been there before. A small, muddy footprint beside the file. Pointing backward. Leading away from the table. As if someone had been standing right behind him. And walked backward out of the room. Chapter 8 Midnight on the Hill of Spirits. That night, Min tried to convince himself everything he had read was exaggeration. Folklore, fear, superstition. But deep inside, he knew something had already crossed the boundary into his world. The rain tapped lightly on the roof, steady and rhythmic. But instead of calming him, every sound felt unnaturally sharp. As if the house itself was listening. Min sat at his desk, staring at the darkened window. His phone was face down. He refused to check the camera feed. But whenever he avoided looking, the memory of Aiko's backward steps pressed harder against his mind. Then it came. A sound outside the house. Thud, thud, thud. Not footsteps approaching. Not footsteps leaving. Footsteps moving slowly across the back porch. Not walking backward, not yet. But stepping forward. Each step heavier than the one before. Min's breath stopped. The porch light went out in an instant. Not flickered. Not dimmed. It died. The house plunged into a suffocating darkness. Min reached for the light switch. Nothing happened. The air grew colder. Thick. Dense. Almost pressing against his skin. Then, a soft knock sounded at the back door. Tock, tock, tock? 3 slow taps. Min's heart hammered in his chest. He stepped toward the door, knees shaking, and peered through the thin paper panel that separated him from the porch. Outside, nothing but a wall of pitch-black night. No shape. No shadow. But Min felt it. Something was standing there. Very still. Right on the other side. He stepped back slowly. The thing outside stepped back too. Thud. A backward step. Min froze. He stepped back again. Another instinctive move of fear. And outside, the footsteps mimicked him perfectly. Thud. A second backward step. Thud. A third. The synchronization was impossible. Exact. Unnatural. It wasn't moving on its own. It was responding to him. Min's skin crawled as if dozens of cold fingers were brushing along his spine. He turned away from the door and hurried back to his room. But the moment he reached the doorway, his bedroom door slid open by itself. Inside, the room was flooded with pale moonlight. Through the open window, Min could see the hill behind the house, covered in thick, shifting fog that seemed to pulse like a breathing creature. And there, at the edge of the fog, a silhouette. A girl. Aiko. He recognized her instantly. Her long white dress, her soaked hair sticking to her back, her feet twisted unnaturally. But something was different this time. She wasn't walking. She wasn't moving at all. She stood perfectly still, facing him from afar. Her body turned away. But her head was facing Min. As if the world had rotated wrong around her neck. Even from a distance, he felt her gaze drilling into him. Blank, pale, endless. Min stumbled backward, breath trembling. Then she moved. A sudden, sharp motion. She stepped backward. Toward him. Another step. Then another. Faster than before. Urgent. Desperate. As if she had realized something. Min had seen her. The house trembled. The air shifted. The curtain by his window fluttered wildly. Something whispered near his ear. Close enough to feel the breath against his skin. Don't turn back. Don't look into me. The voice was female but distorted, like someone speaking from a collapsed throat. Min collapsed to the floor. And in the silence that followed, footsteps began again outside the room. This time, they were walking backward, directly toward his bedroom door. Chapter 9. Calling Aiko. The backward footsteps outside Min's bedroom door moved slowly, steadily, each dull thud striking directly into his chest. Thud, thud, thud. It did not sound like someone walking. It sounded like something dragging itself, heel first, across the floor. Min pressed his back to the wall, his breathing shallow. The old woman's warning echoed in his mind. When you hear footsteps behind you, do not turn around. But this time, the footsteps weren't behind him. They were right outside his door. The doorknob trembled. Not violently, but lightly, as if touched by cold fingers from the other side. Then the footsteps stopped. Silence spread through the room like cold water. Min squeezed his eyes shut. That was when he heard it. A low voice. Not coming from the door. Not from the hallway. But from beneath the floorboards. Min. His eyes snapped open. No human voice sounded like that. It was deep, cracked, suffocated. As if spoken by something buried far below. Min. Come down. The voice vibrated through the wooden floor. Through Min's bones. It crawled into his ears and settled like an icy seed. It sounded like it came from the well. Rising through the earth. Calling him. Min shook uncontrollably. No. He couldn't go near that place again. But he also knew something else. He could no longer ignore it. The voice called once more. Come down. I am waiting. A wave of dread struck him so hard he felt nauseous. Min forced himself to stand and step toward the window. The curtain fluttered as he pulled it aside. Fog blanketed the backyard. Then the fog shifted. A huge shadow glided past the bushes. Not walking. Not stepping. Sliding. The shape was tall, too tall to be human. Its limbs stretched unnaturally as it moved. Min stumbled backward. The voice beneath the floorboard rose again. Min. Down here. It was unmistakably the voice of a man. Deep, old, and full of something that wasn't human anymore. Min turned toward the back door. If he didn't confront it now, it would come for him anyway. He grabbed his flashlight and stepped outside. The cold engulfed him instantly. The fog parted just enough to reveal the old well. Its stones glistening with moisture. Its mouth open like a hungry throat. Min approached slowly. Every instinct screamed at him to run. But he forced himself closer, leaning just enough to see inside. Only darkness. Then, from the well, Min. I know you see me." The voice seemed to come from the bottom, but also from right behind him. A violent splash erupted. Water churned violently, slapping the stone walls. Something enormous was rising. Min stumbled back, flashlight shaking. Then, a whisper. Soft. Broken. Very close. "Don't go down." Min spun around. A figure stood just beyond the edge of the trees. Aiko. But not like before. No backward steps. No unnatural posture. She just stood there. Her hair dripping, dress torn, feet pointed the wrong way. Her head hung low, as if weighed down by something heavy inside her. He whispered, "Aiko." Her shoulders trembled. The voice came again. Barely audible. "Don't listen to him." Min took a step toward her, but the ground trembled beneath him. Behind Aiko, the well erupted again. A massive black hand burst upward, its fingers long and warped, clawing at the edge of the well. The hand flexed, twisted, searching. Aiko suddenly jerked backward. Her whole body pulled toward the well by an invisible force. She dug her heels into the soil, trying to resist. Her arms stretched back in agony. She choked out, "He wants you." Her neck twisted painfully as she tried to face Min without moving her feet. "Don't let him see your eyes." The black hand behind her rose higher, then lunged. Aiko moved faster than any living being. She hurled herself backward, placing her body between Min and the thing in the well. She screamed, "Stop!" The air cracked like thunder. And before Min could blink, the creature's hand smashed into her, grabbing her body and dragging her violently toward the well. Min lunged forward, grabbing her wrist. "Aiko, no." Her wrist was cold. Not human cold, but the cold of something already halfway gone. The thing from the well pulled again. Min dug his nails into her skin. "Aiko, don't let go." Aiko's voice broke. "If I hold on, he will take you too." Min's heart shattered. "No, I won't leave you." Aiko's white, broken eyes softened. She whispered, barely audible, "I don't want you to die." Then, she released his hand. Min screamed, "Aiko." Her body was yanked backward with terrifying force. In seconds, she vanished into the darkness of the well. The ground fell silent. But on Min's wrist, where he had held her, a cold, black handprint remained. Deep, dark, burning. Proof that she had been there. Proof she had saved him. But also a warning. Her battle wasn't over. And neither was his. Chapter 10. The Father Returns. The enormous black hand from the well rose higher, dripping with thick, dark water. Every inch of it looked wrong. Bones bent in strange angles. Skin stretched thin like burned leather. Min staggered backward, eyes wide in horror. Aiko stood between Min and the creature, her small figure trembling violently. Though she was just a shadow of her former self, she still kept her place, protecting him. The air filled with the sound of cracking bones as the thing climbed upward. A head emerged. A thin, contorted torso. A back bent at an impossible angle. Whatever it was, it had once been a man. But no longer. Its eyes were empty black pits. Its jaw hung crooked, dripping with the same black water that stained the well. Then it spoke. Its voice tore through the air like metal scraping on stone. "Aiko, my daughter." Aiko's whole body stiffened. Her limbs shook violently, as if invisible chains were pulling her back toward the well. She whispered through clenched teeth, "Stay behind me." Min's voice cracked. "Aiko, who is that? Why is he calling you his daughter?" Aiko didn't answer. Her head trembled as if refusing the truth itself. But the creature laughed, a twisted sound that made the ground vibrate. "She knows who I am." Aiko squeezed her eyes shut in pain. Finally, with a trembling voice, she whispered, "He is my father." Min felt the world drop out from under him. Her father? The creature, this thing, had once been a man? Min swallowed hard. What happened to him? Why is he like that? Aiko's face twisted in anguish. Father tried to seal an evil spirit. He failed. The spirit entered him and consumed him from the inside. The creature let out a guttural growl that shook the old well stones. Aiko continued. He sacrificed himself to complete the seal. But the spirit wasn't sealed. Minh stepped closer. Then, the thing in the well. That's not your father? Aiko shook her head, tears of black liquid dripping down. No. My father died the moment the spirit took him. What remains is a shell, controlled by the evil spirit he tried to seal. The creature roared. Lies. Its hand shot upward, slapping into the side of the well wall and pulling more of its deformed body out. Aiko screamed. Stay back. Wind exploded from the well, blasting debris across the yard. Minh shielded his face as the ground beneath him cracked. Aiko, struggling to remain standing, clutched the torn wooden talisman around her neck. Minh noticed it. Half of a small wooden seal. The other half missing. Aiko gasped. Father didn't finish the seal because he was still alive. A complete seal needs a living soul. Minh's blood ran cold. He understood immediately. He wants me? Aiko nodded slowly. The spirit wants someone living to complete the seal he failed. It wants to replace my father. The creature's long fingers scraped across the ground as it pulled itself fully out of the well. It towered over Aiko, a grotesque shape of twisted bones and rotting skin. It hissed. Give me the living one? Aiko stepped back, dragging her backward-facing feet through the dirt. Her voice trembled. You cannot have him. The creature raised its massive hand and swung. Aiko hurled herself backward, faster than any human could move, blocking the blow with her small body. The impact exploded with a deafening crack. Minh screamed. Aiko. She slid across the ground, dirt scattering behind her like a ghost being scraped over stone. But somehow, she stood back up. Barely. She took one weak step backward, placing herself between Minh and the monster again. Her voice cracked. He saved me. But I cannot save him unless you break the seal. Minh staggered toward her. How? Tell me. Aiko lifted the cracked talisman around her neck. The other half of the seal is hidden in my old house. Father hid it in the beams above the altar. Minh swallowed. Then I'll get it. I'll bring it back. Aiko shook violently. No. Once the seal is complete, I will disappear forever. The words hit Minh like a knife. He stared at her, this ghost girl twisted by tragedy, fighting with every fading ounce of her existence just to protect him. Aiko, there has to be another way. She slowly shook her head. Her eyes, once white and hollow, for a brief moment softened like they belonged to a living girl. No. This is the only way. Behind her, the creature screamed, the sound shaking the night. Aiko, come back. Aiko turned to face Minh fully. A rare, fragile moment of clarity crossing her ghostly face. Go now, or he will drag both of us down. Wind whipped around them like claws. Aiko pointed toward the path leading into the village. Find the other half. Before he finds you. Minh hesitated. Aiko. She shook her head. No time. Run. Her voice was no longer begging. It was a command. Minh turned and ran, heart shattering with every step. Behind him, he heard Aiko scream as the creature lunged. Her voice carried across the hill. Don't let him see your eyes. Then a horrible crash. And the night swallowed everything. Chapter 11 The Backward Pull. The wind from the hill roared like a living beast, ripping leaves from the trees and sending them spiraling into the darkness. Minh ran, but the ground beneath him felt unstable, as if the earth itself were trying to pull him back toward the well. He could still hear Aiko's scream echoing behind him. Don't let him see your eyes. Her voice cracked with terror, then faded under the monstrous roar of the creature dragging itself out of the well. Minh skidded to a stop on the uneven dirt. He turned just enough to see Aiko. She was being pulled backward toward the well by an unseen force, her body jerking violently like a puppet on invisible strings. Her arms stretched toward Min in desperation. He sprinted back to her without thinking. Aiko. The moment he touched her cold wrist, a shock ripped through him. A freezing pain that crawled up his arm like frostbite. Aiko's voice trembled. Min, don't? But the creature's roar drowned her out. Enormous black fingers, elongated, skeletal, dripping with darkness, reached out from the well, grasping at the air, searching. Min pulled with all his strength. Her body lurched toward him, but the force behind her only grew stronger. The earth trembled. Aiko cried out. He's pulling both of us. Let go, or he'll take you too. Min shouted back, tears in his eyes. I'm not leaving you again. The wind howled. The backward pull intensified. Min's heels dug into the dirt as he fought against the force dragging them both toward the monstrous hand. Aiko's face twisted with pain. Her neck jerked suddenly, and her head turned backward. Unnaturally, violently, as if something behind her was seizing control. Her voice fractured. Min, he's using me to reach you. The black hand swiped past them, fast as lightning. Min ducked. Aiko was yanked upward by the invisible force, her feet dragging through the dirt. Min grabbed her waist and anchored himself, but the pull nearly ripped his shoulder out of its socket. The monster's voice boomed from the well. The living one belongs to me. Min's breath choked in his throat. The backward force shifted. It latched onto him. It clawed at his spine, wrenching backward like a hook catching inside his ribs. His body jerked violently. No, no, he screamed. Aiko twisted around, grabbing both his arms. Her milky, broken eyes flickered with something human. Fear. Desperation. She whispered. Min, he's pulling your soul, not your body. Min felt it. A coldness ripping at the edges of his vision, dragging him toward darkness. Aiko screamed. I won't let him take you. She shoved all her weight backward, trying to break the pull. But doing so pulled her closer to the well. Aiko, stop. The creature's hand lunged again. Aiko threw herself backward, straight into the creature's path, shielding Min. The hand slammed into her. Min watched in horror as her small frame folded unnaturally under the impact. Her back bent. Her limbs twisted. Her head snapped sideways like paper. But she didn't fall. She stood. Barely. Protecting Min with her entire broken body. Min's voice cracked. Aiko, please. Aiko's torn voice rasped out. If he takes you, everything ends. The backward pull hit Min again. Harder, ripping the breath from his lungs. Aiko grabbed his face with surprisingly strong hands. Listen to me. Her eyes, white, hollow, locked onto his. You must finish the seal, or both of us will be dragged down forever. The wind screamed. The earth split. The creature's body rose higher. Aiko's strength faltered. She slid an inch backward. Then another. Min lunged forward and hugged her tightly. I won't let you go. Her body trembled violently in his arms. But she shook her head. And with a final, heart-shattering whisper. Min, you have to survive? A sudden force, stronger than anything before, ripped her out of his grasp. Aiko screamed one last time as she was yanked backward through the dirt. Hands reaching, legs dragging, hair flying. And with a violent jerk, she was pulled into the well. The ground fell silent. The wind died. Min collapsed to his knees. On his wrist, where Aiko had held him, a dark, icy handprint remained. A mark of her sacrifice. And a warning. The creature had touched him. And it would try again. Chapter 12. The girl appears. After Aiko was dragged into the well, the world fell silent in a way Min had never experienced. No wind. No rustling leaves. No distant cries. The hill felt dead. Min knelt in the dirt, breathing hard, staring at the empty mouth of the collapsed well. The stones trembled weakly, as if something still stirred beneath. But whatever monster lived there was no longer emerging. The water was gone. The darkness inside was absolute. A hollow, Suffocating emptiness. Min whispered. Aiko. No answer. He forced himself to stand, leaning against the cracked stones. His legs trembled as though the earth itself was rejecting him. Just when he started to step away, he heard it. Footsteps. Soft. Slow. Unsteady. Behind him. Min froze. Not again. Not now. The footsteps grew closer. Thud. Soft heel first pressure into soil. Thud. Closer. Thud. Right behind him. Aiko's voice echoed in his head. Don't turn around. But he felt something different this time. Not malice. Not hunger. Something weak. Fragile. He turned. Slowly. And saw her. Aiko. She stood a few meters away, enveloped in the thick fog. Her dress was torn and soaked, clinging to her thin form. Her hair dripped black water down her shoulders. But something was different. She was facing him. Her head turned forward. Her pale face visible. Her eyes, still white and empty, rested on him. But her body still pointed the other direction. Legs twisted. Feet turned backward. Arms hanging at irregular angles. Her neck strained, trembling as she held her head facing Min. Min whispered her name. Aiko. The fog curled around her feet, swirling like ghostly fingers. Aiko's lips moved. No sound at first. Then, a soft, broken whisper escaped. I did not come back. I was pushed out. Min's breath halted. Pushed out? By who? Aiko's fingers twitched violently. Her shoulders jerked as if someone were pulling from behind. Her voice faltered. He is weak now. He cannot hold me down. She took one unnatural step forward. Her toes pointed behind her, but her upper body leaned toward Min. Min swallowed hard. Did you escape? Aiko shook her head. Her movements were slow, stiff, as if her joints no longer obeyed her. No. I am not free. I am only between worlds for a moment. The ground rumbled faintly. Fog thickened around the collapsed well. Min felt something awaken beneath the earth. Aiko raised her trembling arm and pointed at him. He wants something else now. Min's throat tightened. What does he want? Aiko's eyes, white, empty, locked onto his. The answer came like a knife. He wants the living soul who saw me. Min stepped back instinctively. Me? Her head twitched sharply. A crack echoed from her spine. Yes. A gust of icy wind blasted across the hill, carrying a deep, rumbling whisper from the ground. Aiko staggered. Her legs bent in opposite directions, barely holding her up. She cried out. He is climbing again. You must run. Min moved toward her. Aiko, come with me. Her hair whipped wildly around her face. Her voice cracked. No. If he sees your eyes, he will pull you down like he did with my father. The ground behind her split slightly. A thin crack of darkness. Min's heart stopped. Something inside the crack was moving. Aiko turned back to Min, pain twisting her features. No matter what happens, don't let him see you. Her voice softened suddenly, becoming almost human. I still have time to hold him back. She took a step backward, deliberate, controlled. Her backward walking stance returning as if some invisible ritual had been forced upon her again. Fog wrapped around her ankles. Her fingers extended, trembling, as if reaching for Min one last time. You must live? Even if I vanish. A roar erupted from the crack. Aiko jerked violently, almost falling. She screamed. Run. Min hesitated for a single heartbeat. Just one. Aiko's eyes filled with something he had never seen in her before. Grief. And a strange, aching tenderness. Her voice quivered. I don't want to walk backward anymore. The crack widened. A blast of black wind struck her. And Aiko was dragged a step closer to the ground split open behind her. Her final scream tore the night. Go. Before he looks at you. Chapter 13 The Buried Truth. The wind screamed across the hill, twisting violently around the ruins of the well. Min staggered backward, heart pounding as Aiko struggled to stand against the invisible force dragging her toward the darkness splitting open behind her. Her head jerked unnaturally, her neck straining as she forced her face toward Min. Her voice trembled. "Don't let him see your eyes." The ground beneath them cracked wider. Fog spilled upward like smoke rising from a deep fire, curling into the air in twisting shapes. Min shouted over the storm. "Aiko, tell me, why is he after me? Why does he want a living soul?" Aiko trembled harder, her fingers digging into the soil as she fought the pull behind her. Her voice cracked. "He needs someone alive. To finish the seal my father failed to complete." Min reeled. "The seal? What seal?" Aiko's eyes flickered with pain. "My father tried to trap the evil spirit, but he was still alive during the ritual. A sealing made by the living is always incomplete." Min clenched his fists. "So the spirit wants someone living to replace him?" Aiko nodded slightly. The air thickened. The crack behind her widened another inch. She whimpered. "He wants you. Because you saw me. Because your eyes acknowledged my presence." Min froze. All the signs, all the nights of backward footsteps, the Polaroid, the camera feed, the moment he saw her. Everything began. Aiko's voice was barely audible. "He chose you the first night you looked at me." Min's breath shook. "Then how'd I stop him?" Aiko pointed at the wooden talisman hanging broken around her neck. "Half the seal is here. The other half, my father hid it, in our old house." Lightning cracked across the sky, though no thunder followed. The world felt suspended in dread. Min swallowed hard. "Where is it exactly?" She whispered. "In the beams above the altar. Where my father hid the truth from everyone. Even from me." The crack behind her shuddered. A blackened hand, massive and skeletal, pushed through the opening. Fingers clawing through the soil. Aiko jerked violently forward. Min shouted. "Aiko!" She forced herself up onto her twisted feet, shaking. Her voice was drenched in fear. "If you get the other half, you can finish the seal. You can trap him forever." Min hesitated. "And what about you?" Aiko lowered her head. Her hair slid forward, hiding half her face. "If the seal is completed, I will disappear. Forever." Min felt the world blur. "No, Aiko, no, I won't sacrifice you." Aiko lifted her face, pale, broken, but filled with something human. "Min, I died a long time ago." He shook his head violently. "No, you're still here, you're fighting, you saved me." Aiko forced a smile through trembling lips. "That's why, you must finish this." The crack behind her split open wider. A monstrous roar tore from the depths. "Aiko!" Aiko screamed as her body was yanked backward another step. Min reached for her, but she held out her hand. "Don't come closer." The black hand from the crack slammed into the soil beside her, spraying dirt. Aiko gasped. "He is coming. You must run. Go to my old house. Find the seal." Min trembled. "I won't leave you." Aiko looked at him with eyes filled with sorrow deeper than death itself. "You don't have a choice." Her voice softened. "Do you know why I kept stepping backward? Why I walked like this for so long?" Min didn't answer. Aiko whispered. "Because something was always behind me. Pulling me. Chasing me. Never letting me move forward." Her tears, thick and black, fell to the ground and vanished into the crackling soil. "But you made me want to face the world again." Her lips moved into a trembling smile. "Thank you for seeing me." Another roar erupted. The black hand lunged again. Aiko screamed. "Go now. Before he takes you too." The wind blasted into Min with enough force to shove him backward. The last thing he saw before running was Aiko, standing between him and the darkness, her arms spread wide, her backward-turned legs buckling, her form flickering like a fading flame. A girl trying to protect the living, even as she was being pulled back into the grave. Chapter 14: The Backward Ritual. Min sprinted through the thick fog, his breath scraping in his throat. Behind him, the hill roared with the voice of something ancient and furious. shaking the very ground he ran on. Every step felt wrong, as if an invisible force was trying to pull his heels backward, dragging him toward the collapsed well. Aiko's last scream echoed endlessly in his mind. Find the other half. Finish the seal before he finds you. Minh stumbled down the slope, heart hammering. The closer he got to the bottom of the hill, the thicker the fog became, twisting around his arms like cold hands. He reached the old path leading toward the abandoned house, Aiko's former home. Everything looked distorted under the moonlight. The trees leaned unnaturally toward him. Shadows stretched too long across the ground. He rushed forward, but halfway down the path, he felt it. A presence behind him. Not footsteps. Not breathing. Just something watching. Very, very closely. He didn't dare turn around. He kept running. Dash, dash, dash. At the top of the hill, the ritual site began to awaken. 12 ancient stone pillars stood in a wide circle. Rough, cracked, covered in faded red markings. Aiko had called it the final barrier. But at this moment, Minh felt its pull, as if the stones themselves were demanding he return. He ignored it and ran toward the abandoned house. Dash, dash, dash. The house was old, broken, and soaked with years of decay. Its wooden beams sagged, the entrance half collapsed, windows shattered. Yet Minh felt something else. A warmth. A faint flicker of Aiko's presence. He pushed the door open. The interior was cold, silent, and smelled of old dust and incense. The altar stood at the far end of the room, covered in dust. Aiko's childhood home. He whispered, "Aiko, I'm here." No answer. Only silence. He stepped toward the altar. Above it, hidden in the shadowed beams, he saw something wedged between the wood. A bundle of cloth. Minh climbed up carefully, reaching inside the beam. His fingers brushed something hard. A wooden piece. A broken talisman. The other half. He pulled it free and unfolded the cloth. There it was. A small arc of carved wood, cracked and stained. It matched the half Aiko wore around her neck. Minh held it tightly, tears filling his eyes. "Aiko, I found it." But then, the temperature in the house dropped sharply. His breath puffed white. A voice whispered behind him. Deep. Wet. Angry. "Minh." He froze. The voice was wrong. Too close. Too low. Slowly, terrifyingly. The wood beneath him creaked, and something outside the house growled like 1,000 overlapping breaths. The spirit had found him. He snapped the talisman shut in his hand and ran out the door. Fog surged violently around the house. At the bottom of the hill, the ground trembled. Something massive was moving. He ran toward the top. Toward the ritual circle. Dash, dash, dash. The ritual circle reacted the moment Minh stepped inside. A booming sound erupted. Wind spiraled upward. The stones glowed with white cracks, like veins of light pulsing under ancient skin. Minh clutched both halves of the talisman. Aiko's words echoed. "You must walk backward? 12 steps. Only then will the seal open." Minh breathed sharply. He stood at the center of the stones. Then he stepped backward. Step 1. The air thickened around him. Step 2. Fog rose, swirling into a ring. Step 3. Whispers filled the circle. Step 4. Minh felt hands brushing the back of his neck. He didn't look. Step 5. The ground trembled. Step 6. A deep rumble echoed from the hill. Step 7. Aiko's scream seemed to echo in the wind. "Don't stop." Step 8. Dark shapes flickered in the fog. Step 9. A cold hand gripped his shoulder. He didn't turn. Step 10. His heart pounded so hard he thought it might burst. Step 11. The air inside the circle became impossibly heavy. A whisper filled his ears. "Turn around." He squeezed his eyes shut. And took. Step 12. Dash, dash, dash. The seal opened. A circle of white light burst from the ground, ripping through the fog and swirling into a vortex of shimmering air. Min held both halves of the talisman. A figure appeared inside the spinning light. Aiko. Whole. Calm. Facing forward. Her hair floated in the light like she was underwater. She whispered, "This is the last time. I walk toward you." She reached out her hand. The vortex shook violently. A monstrous roar erupted from below the hill. The spirit was coming. Screaming. Clawing. The ground cracked open behind Min as a massive black form lunged upward. Aiko screamed, "Hurry, complete the seal." Min pressed both halves of the talisman together. White light exploded outward, blasting across the ritual circle and swallowing everything. Aiko. The hill. The monster. Min. Everything disappeared in a blinding flash. Chapter 15. The end of the girl who walked backward. The white light swallowed everything. For a moment, Min saw nothing. No hill, no fog, no monster. Only a vast, blinding emptiness. Then the light faded. Slowly, shapes returned. Colors. Sound. Breath. Min opened his eyes. The ritual circle was quiet. The stones no longer glowed. The crack in the earth had sealed shut. And there, in the center of the fading light, stood Aiko. Not twisted. Not broken. Not walking backward. She looked human again. Her hair fell naturally over her shoulders. Her pale face was calm, peaceful. Her eyes, still white, but soft, rested gently on Min. But Min noticed something impossible. Her feet were not touching the ground. She was floating slightly, like a mist held together by a final wish. Min whispered, "Aiko, is it you?" Aiko smiled. A real smile, gentle and warm. "Yes." For a moment, she stepped toward him. Forward. Her first forward step in years. Min felt tears blur his vision. "You're free now?" Aiko shook her head softly. "No. I am only here to say goodbye." Min's breath trembled. "No, Aiko, please." She raised her hand and touched the dark, cold handprint on his wrist. The mark shimmered, then slowly dissolved into nothing, fading like dust in the morning wind. "You're safe now. He cannot touch you anymore." Min swallowed his grief. "And you? What will happen to you?" Aiko looked toward the sky, the last remnants of the vortex fading above them. "I will go where lost souls finally find rest." Her voice grew softer. "I won't feel pain anymore." Min stepped closer. "Aiko, I'll never forget you." She smiled again, sad, but grateful. She lifted her hand and gently placed one finger against Min's lips. "Live for me. Live forward." Her body flickered, light breaking apart into thin ribbons of mist. Aiko whispered, "Let me walk one last time, without looking back." She faded. Completely. The hill grew silent. The fog cleared. The sky brightened as if nothing had ever happened. The next morning, Min prepared to leave the small town. Before walking away forever, he visited the backyard one last time. The well was gone. Not collapsed, not filled, but gone entirely. Only smooth earth remained, as if the ground had never been broken. Min crouched down. There was something in the dirt. A footprint. Small. Light. Facing forward. Aiko's final step. He closed his eyes and whispered, "Rest now, Aiko." That night, before leaving the town, Min packed his belongings in the quiet room of a small local inn. When he turned back to the table, he froze. A Polaroid photograph lay there. One he had never taken. It showed the Hill of Spirits at sunrise. Fog floating softly. Light touching the trees. And at the top of the hill, a girl in a white dress. Walking forward. Wind blowing her hair gently. She turned slightly, as if looking toward the person holding the photo. A faint smile on her lips. Min touched the photograph. A warmth lingered on the surface. He whispered, "Goodbye, Aiko." From somewhere in the still air, he felt it. A quiet answer. "Goodbye, the ritual ends." The darkness is sealed. Aiko disappears. All that remains is a single small footprint, pointing forward. Her final step after a lifetime of walking backward. But on misty nights, some swear they still see a white silhouette standing at the top of the hill, watching one last time.
Like and subscribe to Whispering Dark Tales for more chilling ghost stories.